Baby, welcome to the first ever episode of Before You Bet right here on the Covers YouTube channel. We got a lot to get into on today's show. You might have heard there's a big game going on tonight, but with this being the first ever episode of Before You Bet right here on the Covers YouTube channel, let me tell you a little bit about this show. This is a football show, both NFL and college football. We're going to be coming at you guys 3 times a week, every Monday, every Thursday, every Friday at 12 Eastern. It's going to be me, a bunch of the other Covers guys, and a few special guests as well. We're going to be leaning quite heavily on Brad Powers for college football coverage. He's going to be along shortly on today's show. We also have professional sports bettor Hitman, who will be with us every single Friday, and former NFLer and CFLer Davis Sanchez. If you're up here in Canada, you'll recognize him from TSN. He's going to be along on today's show and every other Thursday show as well. It's going to be great to have a little bit of analysis from someone who's been in the locker room, from someone who's been on the field, unlike yours truly. I peaked as a football player at 14, 15 years old. I was nominated for team MVP, though, on my Pee Wee team. People forget about that. That doesn't come up when people talk about me. Okay, that is enough small talk here, guys. Let's get into it here. Let's bring in my coworker, Josh, the first ever guest on the first ever episode. Look at this guy. Look at the smile on his face. He's fired up to get into it here tonight. If you're not already following him on social media, you're going to want to do it. He's very profitable in Major League Baseball this season. Also all over the NHL. He's going to be all over the NFL, of course, for us as well. Josh, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Joe, you got me feeling like the prettiest girl at the ball here, leading off the show.
I like it.
And happy to set the table for a couple big studs behind me for sure. This is going to be a great show.
Okay, so we have 3 total bets for the Thursday Night Football. We're also going to get Josh's favorite play for Sunday and his Super Bowl pick. So enough small talk here. Let's get right into the action here for the Thursday Nighter. I'm going to hit lead off for us. A couple different ways you can go with this one. The whole Kelsey injury thing, that kind of had some confusion to it. But I'm going to underreact to the Kelsey injury news. I'm going to take the Chiefs to go over their team total of 29.5 points. I think this one shapes up really good for them. Check out how these teams performed last season. This is a Kansas City Chiefs team that ranked number 1 in points scored, going up against a Lions defense that was 28th in points allowed. Detroit's defense was bad everywhere. Make a clear case that this was the worst defense in the National Football League last season. 30th in yards allowed per rush, 31st in yards allowed per pass attempt. They couldn't get stops on third down. They stunk in the red zone. Kansas City's offense top 2 in both the red zone and on third down. And if you don't already know, the Kansas City Chiefs come out absolutely flying in Week 1 games. In the 5 Week 1 games that Patrick Mahomes has started, KC has averaged 37.8 points per game, hitting the 30-point mark in all 5 of those games. So there you have it, my best bet. The first ever bet in the history of Before You Bet, Chiefs to go over their team total 29.5. Josh, what's your best bet for this game?
We've been around on it earlier the week. It's kind of moved up. It's gone up a point, but Jahmyr Gibbs over now it's 30.5. I'm still happy to place at 30.5. Got it at 29.5 minus 115 available right now at PointsBet. One of the situations here, there's a lot to like in this play, even if we have a low floor on it. First off, KC gives up a ton of yards to opposing running backs, over 40 per game last year. That was a top 5 ranking. And then we go to the backfield passing opportunities that obviously will increase with Detroit hopefully playing from behind. It's a massive game script game for a guy who Detroit went out, spent heavy capital on in the first round, so they're going to get him the ball. That's what I like earlier. There were some issues that Dan Campbell said his workload might not be massive, and that's why we saw a dip back from like the 33s and the 34s this week on that total. But even with a 4-target game, I still like this at 30.5, playing up to about 32. No Chris Jones is massive. The biggest thing for rookie running backs is obviously their commitment in pass protection. If he doesn't have to worry and stay in and chip Chris Jones, he'll have an easier route out to run routes out of the backfield. So really liking Gibbs here, explosive guy. He's a 200-pounder, but 80% catch rate, about 10 yards per target over his collegiate career. Big numbers for a guy who, I mean, like I said, they got rid of DeAndre Swift, so they're going to use him, and Ben Johnson's offense is legit.
There we go. Gibbs over. I think there's going to be a lot of Gibbs overs in that game. I should have mentioned off the top, guys, we got 64 people watching live right now. We want you guys to get involved in the show. Hit up that live chat. Drop your best bets. If you're watching the replay, drop your best bets in the comments. Tell us why you like the bets too. Give us a little bit of a breakdown. Also, if you're not a YouTube person, you prefer podcast, the replay of the show is going to be available via podcast wherever you get your podcast, so you can check them out there as well. Okay, Josh, let's keep rolling. I have a prop that I like for this game. I like Isaiah Pacheco to go over his rushing yard total. It's kind of surprised, only 51 and a half yards. I love him to go over this number. So let's check this out. I think people might be forgetting just how good this guy was to close out last season. He was 6th in total rushing yards from weeks 10 to 17 last season. He topped this in 10 of his last 12 games last season, including the playoffs all the way up to the Super Bowl. And he should be able to slice and dice this Lions defense, maybe break a big run or two. The Lions defense last season, 30th in yards allowed per rush. So I think Pacheco has a good game. You know, this guy might develop into one of the better running backs in the NFL. So there you have it. That's our 3 best bets for the Thursday night game. I know a lot of people, you might want to unload the entire bankroll. We're all excited. It's the first game of the year.
Yeah.
The issue with these week 1 games is it's kind of a pain in the ass to handicap them because, you know, you heard my breakdowns. A lot of this is going on stuff that happened last season, right? And some of that is going to carry over. Some of it won't, but you know, hopefully we get the 3-0 sweep. So let's look ahead a little bit here to Sunday, though, Josh. You have a handful of plays that you do like for Sunday, but give us your favorite play for the Sunday slate.
Yeah, I think the Minnesota-Tampa Bay game is a little low, and I think it's getting the Baker Mayfield treatment. I mean, if it's anybody else, this is a Minnesota team that is absolutely an over juggernaut. But coming into this year, well, first off, it's the over 45.5. We're getting a great number there for the indoor game at Minnesota. And one of the things here is the inexperience at corner for Minnesota. 3 of their top 4 corners, second or first year players. There's not a lot of games played in that unit. And then you add in a Brian Flores defense that blitzes a ton, leaving these guys on an island who have been used to soft cover defenses over the last 2 years. We could see some inexperienced guys having to make one-on-one plays, which versus, I mean, Mike Evans is 6'5", 230 pounds. And I mean, that's a tough matchup right off the gate. He could be facing Mekhi Blackman, rookie cornerback, 5'10". So that's a massive 7-inch vertical distance between the two of them. And like I said, the Vikings are just an over juggernaut. They were 12-6 to the over last year, 8-2 at home, 8-1 to the over as a favorite at home, 280 passing yards per play, 280 passing yards per game allowed. The thing about an over team, the offense is going to be, I mean, high pace. It's another year of Kevin O'Connell's offense. TJ Hawkinson gets a full year. They spent draft capital in the first round for another wide receiver. It's a fast offense coupled with a defense that's going to give up chunks of yards. There's a lot to like in that. And obviously, like I said, the Mayfield stink is real, but he's shown some chemistry with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and his deep ball percentages. He has 3 top 8 deep ball completion percentage in I believe 5 years over his career. So there's a lot to like, and I think we're getting a little bit of a Baker Mayfield discount here.
I don't know. I think that's the most depressing quarterback drop off in the history of the NFL, going from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. I realize Mayfield is a little bit of a punching bag, but yeah, I do like the Vikings to be able to score in that one. I don't know, but the Bucs. So we'll see what Brian Flores brings to the table, the new defensive coordinator there for the Vikings. Okay, Josh, we'll let you go in a second. But first, the season starts in mere hours here. What's your Super Bowl pick this year?
Super Bowl pick. You and I were talking off air that I don't think either of us are huge future guys. If I'm doing a future play like that, probably looking for some value. So probably trying to look at something in the NFC for an easier path just to get to the Super Bowl. And Dallas at about 16-1 kind of screams at me. I know you don't love Dallas, and not a lot of people do, nor do they trust Mike McCarthy. And I understand that. Dak's interceptions were somewhat unlucky, a lot of people are saying, last year. Offense is looking legit. The defense, one of the better secondaries and pass rushers. So this is a team that could win 11, 12 games, could finish with the 1-2 seeds. So at those odds, I like them a little better in San Francisco to get deep in a playoff run.
Dallas to have a great regular season, then urinate all over themselves in the playoffs. That's what they do. Mike McCarthy cannot be trusted in a big spot, but who knows? Maybe they will get over the hump this year. Okay, Josh, 11 minutes in. We're going to let you get back to work. A lot to do here at Covers these days. Busy week. So we thank you for joining us. Like I said, make sure you are following Josh on social media. He's got a lot going on, and we will catch up with him again next Thursday. Thank you for joining the show.
Appreciate it, Joe. Best of luck with the rest of the show, bud.
Thank you, my man. Okay, we are on to guest number 2. Let's bring him in here. Calling in or videoing in from Toronto. If you're up here in Canada, you watch TSN, you know this guy, Davis Sanchez. He's all over football coverage, both CFL and NFL for TSN up here in Canada. And Davis, so I met you on Tuesday, but I didn't know a lot about you, so I want to do a little bit of research on you. And I'm happy to share with the audience that for the first time in the brief history of Before You Bet, we have a guest who has their own Wikipedia page. So congratulations to Davis on having a Wikipedia page. I hope to have one myself one day. So if you know anyone there, if you can put in a word for me, I would appreciate it.
I got you. I'll see what I can do. I was just listening to you and Josh there. I suggest maybe some depends for Mike McCarthy, because I'm also, if he's going to pee on his leg, I'm also on the McCarthy and the Cowboys wagon. I'll tell you that now. So we're going to start off this relationship by disagreeing right off the hop.
All right. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of disagreement on this show. But Davis, he's not a one-time Grey Cup champion. He's not a two-time Grey Cup champion. He is a 3-time Grey Cup champion. He also spent time in the secondary for the San Diego Chargers. So a little bit of different insight from a guy who played the game, as opposed to me, who spends a lot of time on my couch usually on the weekends here. So, Davis, let's get into it here. Thursday Night Football. First, let's get your overall thoughts on the game. We have some line movement here. Kansas City down to -4.5 now. Pretty big reaction to the Travis Kelce. Will he, won't he play? Your overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I'm shocked with the national media. Everybody's seen the Kelce move. Really has a lot of folks now jumping over to Detroit, which surprises me. And also I understand. It makes sense. If you look at depth charts, look at the rosters, I get it. I can see how, you think Detroit has a shot here, especially how they will play. But, the Patrick Mahomes factor is one that, maybe people are looking past right now, and I'm a little bit shocked. I think the number's right. I think the move is right, but I'm shocked. That's not naturally how it goes.
Yeah, people buying that Lions hype. I think they'll be okay this season. I don't know if they'll be good right off the bat in this one. Okay, so let's get down to business. Yeah. What's your best bet for the game?
So I have a couple quick ones. I'm with Joshua as well on the Gibbs. I like the Gibbs rushing and receiving yards. And look, for me, it's the conversation about the workload, right? And Dan Campbell saying he might have let it workload. I get that. Whether that's posturing or not, I don't know. We'll find out shortly. But game plan, it'll be heavy workload. But game plan wise, he's going to be all in the game plan. So he's got to get a lot of touches. And if you look, Jamison Williams is out. They're lacking playmakers. Obviously, St. Brown is special, truly special, and he's going to have a massive year. His numbers just high. But if you look at their offense, they've got to find ways, and that's the guy. So that for me, I love that play. And if you look at Dan Campbell, where did he come from? He was in New Orleans at the same time Alvin Kamara came in, and this is, I think, a lot of what he saw in Gibbs is Alvin Kamara. They're the same player. You watch them on film; they're very similar what they can do. I expect a lot of angle routes, obviously screens, anything to get the ball in the open field and those matchups with nickelbacks or linebackers. But I would bet that Dan Campbell was one pushing Brad Holmes to draft him. That being said, in week one, you want to show off your new toy. Also show that it was worth taking somebody that high at 12. I expect him to be, what Dan Campbell said might be posturing. I expect him to be big in the game plan, and I expect him to go over that number. But there's obviously the first week is a tough one.
Yeah, the first week is a bit of a pain in the ass from a handicapping perspective. Like I said, you're often going off
Yeah.
stats and some narratives from last season, and kind of with these rookies, you're just going off of what you think might happen. So, okay, so
Yeah.
that's what you like for tonight. What about your best bet for Sunday?
Yeah.
Is there
I
something
also
on the
got a
board that you love?
Pacheco. Yeah, I got another
Okay,
one for tonight. Pacheco. I like
okay,
Pacheco over as well. Again, you like Pacheco as well, but
love
for
them.
me, I like the over rushing and receiving. I think he goes over his rush number, but and also it's just 13 more yards. The books, obviously, the markets understand that he's not a big threat in the receiving game. But in week one, maybe Andy Reid throws some screens, maybe with some angle routes, and if I see a 25-yard screen and I don't have that for the 13 more yards to get rush and receiving, I like that. And also look at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in this situation, right? If there's no ego in a lot of week one. I expect to see a lot of teams trying to show off what they're going to do this year, who they are, what they're going to be. Let's show everybody. Well, I think we know that we're not going to get that from the Chiefs in regards to they don't care about this. They just want to get through this game. They're banged up, missing playmakers, and the best way to do that when you have a really good offensive line is run the ball. So I expect them take the ego out of it, try to control the rock, and control and also protect your quarterback. And I would expect Pacheco to be a big part of that. And when you have a great O line and a good quarterback, I think the best way to do that is keep the ball in Pacheco's hands and kind of speed the game up in regards to not putting Pat at risk and just get out this one. So that's why I like Pacheco.
Okay, so Sunday, if you could only make one bet on Sunday, what bet are you placing?
Oh, I'm on the Jimmy G train. I like the overs in with Jimmy G. I feel like everybody thinks he's trash, and I understand why he's kind of been a punching bag. But I think in that offense, I think they make some plays. I think they get down the field. I think they're gonna shock some people. I really do. Early, I know I'm not saying they're a playoff team or a good team, but I think early on, I think he's better than people realize, and they've got weapons over there. So I like Jimmy G overs.
Yeah, you dig into it. I mean, there's plenty of reason not to like the guy. He always gets injured, but when he plays, look at his numbers last year in San Francisco. He's coming off maybe his best year as a football player, right? So I like I don't like him long term by any means, but
No,
in
no.
that individual game, I like him, and I don't mind the Raiders. I really like them on a teaser, actually. Okay, so we'll
This
let you
week,
out the door here in a second, Davis, but we got to get your Super Bowl pick. Who's winning it and who are they beating?
I like Dallas, and I'm probably just I'm looking at the numbers here, and from an odd standpoint, I like Dallas. I don't if
Yeah.
it's one for one, I would take Philly or San Fran, but I like Dallas in this spot. I think look, when you have the roster they had last year, say what we want about Dak, and the interceptions they were a bit unlucky. Like he's got a part of that luck, but they were unlucky. They upgrade their number two receiver. Brandon Cooks can flat out fly. He's going to make a big difference there. And then the number two corner, so getting Stephon Gilmore to go with Diggs. That they were already a really good defense, and they're going to see Parsons is going to rush every snap this year, or a whole lot of them. With those two corners, it gives you some options. It gives you, as a DC, you got some tools to play with. So I really like what they can do, and then I like Cincinnati for. I don't need to tell you the 50 reasons why we like Cincinnati. They're loaded, they're young, and they got Joe. So that's who I like.
Yeah, I'm with you on Cincinnati, not so much on Dallas side of things, but I do like the Bengals. The Bengals are my pick to win the Super Bowl. I think it's kind of rare to see a young core with such a winning culture already, and I like the continuity on the kitchen and the coaching staff and Joe Burrow,
Yes.
big game player. They're always going to be in the mix, and I think maybe this year they get over the hump, and I do like the odds on the Bengals to win it. All right, Davis, we'll let you get on your way, but thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll catch up with you again next Thursday.
Good luck. It's all a bunch of hearsay, whatever we find, digging around articles and scrums and all that. I can't wait till next week when we actually have some film to look at and find some mismatches and find some things to actually go off of instead of guessing and hoping that what we hear out of media scrums is right. So let's
Sure.
be everybody be safe this Sunday and Thursday and not go nuts week one without the info.
Yes, sir. Information is our friend. All right, Davis Sanchez, thank you very much for joining us. Okay, guys, let's shift gears. We keep on moving here on Before You Bet. We're going to shift right now to college football. Let's not forget that there's going to be a pretty big college football element of the program. And, of course, we're leaning heavily on our guy, Brad Powers here. He's been with us for the first couple of weeks of the season on the Covers YouTube page, but now he's going to be with us here on our show Before You Bet every Monday and every Thursday. Brad, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we got a handful of picks to get into, but before we do get into that, I got to ask you about the story of the week. Of course, it is Deion Sanders and Colorado. And hey, I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. I think most people are. I own both his baseball rookie card and his football rookie card, so I am a big fan. But I got to say, yeah, that was a big win in week one, but that was a massive victory lap that he took. So where do you stand? Where do you lean on this? On one side, is it, okay, guys, let's pump the brakes here a little bit. It's one win. Or do you lean the other way and think, hey, Colorado might be a little bit better than we thought they were going to be?
Yeah, let me preface by saying coming into the season, I upgraded Colorado's power rating more than any team in the country, and actually talked myself into betting them against TCU plus 21.5. It's just one of obviously many bets since I like to basically bet the board, so to speak. But after that performance, I mean, obviously winning outright as a 3-touchdown underdog, you got to significantly upgrade their power rating. In fact, again, I upgraded Colorado's power rating more than any other team in the country. With that being said, even though those two massive upgrades, market is upgrading Colorado more than I would be comfortable with the team. So it's a great story. It's good for college football. I think it could be possibly good for the betting markets. There's already talks that this could possibly be one of the most bet regular season games in college football history this weekend between Colorado and Nebraska. I'm more the pump the brakes. Not buying everything yet. Let's get another data point here. And that's one of the major reasons. I'll just lead into it. I think there's too much love right now for Colorado. Give me Nebraska plus the 3. Let's keep in mind, last week you could have bet this game at multiple sports books. Nebraska was like an 8-point favorite. Now they're a 3-point underdog. Yes, you massively upgrade Colorado, but you also had to upgrade Nebraska. They should have won outright on the road at Minnesota as a touchdown underdog. In fact, they still almost won despite the fact being -3 in turnovers. So value, at least in my power ratings, value on Nebraska this week.
Nebraska. Okay, so let's talk about a few other bigger games this week. Of course, Saturday night in prime time, we're going to have Alabama, Texas getting after it, a total of 54.5. And you like to play on the total. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, I'm going to go under 54.5. And I'll preface by saying originally when because I'm a guy that likes to bet on Sunday morning for the upcoming week as far as college football goes, my initial gut said over. And then I did, some deep diving on this matchup. And then I rewatched both of these teams' games from week one. And I'm not, the counting stats were really good on Jalen Milroe for Alabama. I don't think so. I mean, rewatching that, I think it was a little more fluky. Obviously, he's going to get much more resistance from Texas's defense, particularly the defensive line. And then I'll also say on the other side, I'm still not buying Quinn Ewers in a big time, road atmosphere in a place where Alabama's only lost 2 home games in 10 plus years. I think both offenses struggle out of the gate. We might get something similar to last year. It was a 20-19 final. But we'll be happy if as long as they score 54 points or less. Just put it that way.
Okay, another murky matchup. Then we'll get into your best bets. We have Texas A&M, Miami, and another play on the total. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, I'm going to go over the total, and mainly it's because of what we saw last week. Improvements from both teams' passing offense. I think Texas A&M's wide receiver core could be among the best in the entire country. Evan Stewart was a kid that I already liked coming in this season. Noah Thomas is the kid that's 6'5" and had 3 touchdown receptions. Connor Wigman was incredible. 5 touchdowns, 0 receptions. Obviously, he's playing a better defense this week than what he faced in New Mexico last week, but I like significant improvement over what they had in offense last year. Similarly, Miami similarly improved when it comes to their passing offense. Tyler Van Dyke's healthy. Restrepo, his safety valve at slot receiver, he's healthy, unlike what was happening for a majority of last season. So let's go over 51, Texas A&M, Miami.
Okay, those are the big games, but let's get into your favorite bets, maybe some under the radar spots, if you will. Texas State UTSA getting after it. A total, kind of a high one, 65.5. Is it too high or not high enough? What do you think?
Yeah, not high enough. Buy price, we'll call it 67. As long as you're getting 67 or less on this one, let's go over the total. And again, it's a fundamental change as far as this handicap goes for one of the teams, that being Texas State. They hired a new coach. He's from Incarnate Word. They run more tempo than anybody in the FCS last year. He comes in week one against a good Baylor defense, 42 points on the board. And their defense is still pretty bad because Baylor still put up 500 yards. And I'm here to tell you that game last week with Texas State had a combined 73 points, and a lot of points were still left on the board. Speaking of points left on the board, you look at UTSA's final last week against Houston, 17-14. That doesn't inspire a lot of confidence to want to bet a total in the mid-60s over here, but there was a lot of points left on the board for UTSA last week. They moved the football over 400 yards. They just turnovers did them in. 3 interceptions from their outstanding 7-year quarterback, Frank Harris. So I don't expect that to be the case this week. I know it's a higher total, but we're going over the total. I think this one ends up in the 70s.
Okay, last but not least, we got Southern Miss, Florida State, and you have a play on the first half spread. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so we'll dive into the derivative market, and we're going to play against Florida State, who had arguably the biggest win of week one. I mean, beating a top 5 opponent in LSU. And I think there might be a little bit of a lackadaisical effort, at least to start off the game. I know they'll be fired up there, first home game and whatnot, but one less day to prep. Keep in mind the LSU game was a very physical game. Score said it was a blowout. It really wasn't. It was close neck and neck there for a majority of the first 3 quarters, played on a Sunday. And Southern Miss, to me, really good, stout defense. Frank Gore's still there at running back. We just need a score here in the first half. So I think it's a little bit of a sluggish start for Florida State. Let's go plus 17 or more. If you can find 17.5, that would be ideal, but 17 or more on Southern Miss in the first half.
Beautiful. Okay, so there we have it. Brad's best bets for this weekend's college football action. Now, Brad, we're going to be depending on you 99% of the way for college football coverage, but we know the NFL kicks off today, so we got to get a Super Bowl pick from you. Who's beating who in the Super Bowl this year?
Oh, wow. Putting me on the spot on this one.
Yes.
Yes, you are. Let's go. I'm going to go the Bengals. I think it's, Bills are treading backwards. Kansas City banged up. We haven't seen a repeat winner in a long time. So I'm going to go with the Bengals.
The Bengals. Okay, so we thank Brad once again for joining us, and he's going to be with us every Monday. Now, anyone who knows anything about betting, especially college football, you don't want to be getting all your bets in on Sunday morning. So we're going to be trying to get ahead of some of these line moves with Brad on Monday's show. Also, a little bit of a recap element, and then he will rejoin us every Thursday to react to some of the line moves and some of the news as well. So, Brad, thank you very much for joining us. We'll catch you on Monday.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so there you have it. In and out in about 30 minutes here, the first ever episode of Before You Bet on the Coverage YouTube channel. Absolutely flying here. So we hope very much to become a big part of your guys' sports betting routine, and that you will check us out every Monday, Thursday, and Friday for your NFL and college football betting needs. But we got a lot going on here at Covers. I strongly encourage you guys to, well, first of all, if you like the show, hit the like button right down there. And if you like betting on sports, if you're watching the show, you probably do. You should subscribe to the Coverage YouTube channel. We got a ton going on here. We have previews for every single NFL game this season, quick ones too, in about 2.5 minutes. We're all over the Major League Baseball, the playoffs coming up here soon. The UFC, there's a pay-per-view this weekend. So we're all over here at Cover. So make sure you subscribe to this channel. It makes our content much easier to find. And also keep in mind, if you don't have time to watch the show live, you can watch the replay of the show later, or if it's more convenient, get it on podcast. Wherever you find your podcast, there will be a podcast version of the show for every single show. So that does it, man. Football is here, and I am absolutely fired up. Thank you guys very much for watching the show today. Best of luck with your bets tonight, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 12 Eastern, for all of our best bets for Sunday's NFL action. Best of luck tonight. Woo!